You are listening to the Spiritual Warrior Coach with Barbara Savin, the podcast for discovering how powerful your wisdom, compassion, and courage is. Get ready to join Barbara and her guests as they explore and offer you advice on how to reclaim your power, your energy, and your authentic self. And now, here's the host of the show, Barbara Savin.
Well, thank you for joining me today, and welcome to the Spiritual Warrior Coach podcast. I'm your host, Barbara Savin, and I am here to help you reclaim your power, your energy, and your authentic self. I am a certified clinical and medical hypnotherapist, Reiki master and teacher, energy healing specialist, life coach, and best-selling author of Gentle Energy Touch, The Beginner's Guide to Hands-on Healing. You know, I have been helping my clients for over 35 years, and the older I get, the more wisdom seems to come through. So isn't it time that you believe in yourself? You know, your mind is going to provide you with your greatest challenges in life because it's so very, very powerful. So let's use that mind for positive thinking, creating harmony, balance, peace, love, happiness, and anything else that your heart desires. Because one day the world will tap you on your shoulder and say, this is your time to shine. And speaking about shining, I'm going to bring my guest on right now, David Page. David, how are you today?
I'm fine. Thanks for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. Well, let me tell my listeners a little bit about you.
Please.
Two-time Emmy winner David Page changed the world of food television by creating, developing, and executive producing the groundbreaking show Diners, Dive-Ins, and Dives. And before that, as a network news producer based in London, Frankfurt, and Budapest, he traveled to Europe, Africa, and the Middle East doing two things: covering some of the biggest stories in the world and developing a passion for some of the world's most incredible food. And David is the author of Food Americana, is the inside story of how Americans have formed a national cuisine from a world of flavors, from bagels and lox to sushi, to tacos to pizza, and so on and so on, and how that process continues every day. And each of his chapters concludes with a classic recipe. And the book includes conversations with some of the most significant people in food. So welcome, David. How are you today?
I'm wonderful. Thank you again for having me. I'm looking forward to our chat.
I do too. Let me tell you, I know this is a spiritual show, but everyone, I mean, we all eat food. So that's why I figured, let me have you on and talk about this.
And if we appreciate food for what it ought to be, there is a soul-sustaining element to it. We as a culture tend to grab and run and not pay a whole lot of attention to what we're eating. And I'm not talking about buzzwords like organic or natural, which means nothing. I'm talking about taking the time to let food really nurture you, to enjoy the experience of both making it and, more importantly, of sharing it with other people. I mean, one of the things I found when I was overseas, and do we still use that term anymore, or is it when I was posted internationally? I went over there without a whole lot of knowledge base of the rest of the world because I was as xenophobic as any American. I'd never expected to get an international posting. And suddenly I'm going from country I know nothing about to country I know nothing about. And I realized pretty quickly that food is a gateway to cultures, that sitting around with people from someplace else and eating their food and discussing it with them and jumping off from that conversation into any number of others is a great way to find out about the world, and B, is very soul satisfying. I mean, the word Epicurean derives from the Greek philosopher Epicurus, who was quoted once wrote that when you decide to eat, the first thing you need to decide is who you're going to eat with. because eating by yourself is like being a wolf. The concept of social interaction and taking the time to look around and enjoy things, or frankly, using the opportunity to try to mull over things that aren't going well, is all an essential element of cuisine.
Yeah, it's amazing because many, many years ago, one of my friends who's from another country, I went to her home to eat, and we sat on the floor and we ate Japanese food, but the
Aha.
way and I was just of something I've never done before, and it was a different feeling, sitting on the floor, eating, enjoying everything that she's made, that she's learned from her country.
Yeah.
And it was um, it was an incredible experience.
Well, there's a sense of sharing too.
Hmm.
I mean, I remember years ago, I was covering violence in the Middle East, and I went to the West Bank, I think to Ramallah, and I had an Israeli crew with me. I was with NBC at the time, and we wanted to interview people. These were Palestinians, and we saw a family. We stopped to talk to them. Now, this was Ramadan. They could not eat till sundown, yet they insisted we come into their house and they prepared food for us that they could not eat at that hour. That's the kind of binding, tying together that food can bring.
That must have been a very nice experience for you.
It was. And to be quite honest, the Israeli crew was uncomfortable.
Oh, really?
Sure, their encounters,
Uh-huh.
especially as a TV crew,
Hmm.
their encounters with Palestinians were generally around deep division, anger, and violence. So it was a very interesting opportunity for them to spend some time with a Palestinian family in their home.
How did they feel about it? After
Conflicted,
sitting. Well,
conflicted.
yes, yeah,
Yeah,
that's why I figured they would have not too sure which way to go. Should we
yeah, they
enjoy
were
them? And
conflicted.
yeah, yeah. So let me ask you, I mean, here in America, oh my God, it's incredible how many fast food restaurants there are.
Yeah,
And I, where we live, it's pretty commercial a few blocks away. And of course, there's Starbucks, McDonald's, Wendy's. And it amazes me how many lines. Of course, it's, people
yeah.
are a little lazy and they're on, fast food, order on, takeout. It amazes me how many Americans eat fast food.
Well, look, this was, you can trace this back for the most part. I mean, there's an antecedent as far back as the 1800s with the emergence of the lunch wagon that turned into the diner. Buffy, we're doing a chat here. You can't bark. You have to excuse Buffy. She likes it when I talk about food. The fast food revolution began post World War II,
Oh,
with a sense of economic prosperity in the country, people buying cars, and Eisenhower developing the interstate highway system, and people being even subsidized post-service in World War II through VHA loans. We became a far more suburban, far more car-oriented culture. In response to our mobility, driving to the office now, that begat the glut of fast food restaurants that we now take for granted, to the point that, a few years ago, there was a minivan produced, I believe it holds the record, that had 19 cup holders in it. We eat on the go, we eat on the move. Now, we've infiltrated Europe and the rest of the world with that ethos, although still today in France, the generally accepted way to live is not to grab lunch and go. It is to sit down and have a meal.
a meal.
And that is reflective, as food is reflective of societies. it is reflective of the entire French work-life balance attitude. And there's a couple of other things. I mean, look, poverty and inequality actually play a large part here, because in poorer neighborhoods where you often have what's referred to as a food desert, literally large companies that don't wish to do a lot of business there, the most available and cheapest food tends to be $1 hamburger at McDonald's. So you have families subsisting on what one would consider to be a less than perfect diet. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with fast food from time to time. I believe there is better fast food. I'd much rather have an In-N-Out burger. You lucky Californians get to have that, than I would something from McDonald's. Because it's closer to real food. At least it was cooked when I ordered it, as opposed to sitting there waiting and degrading. And from time to time, as some sort of salt and fat treat, knock yourself out, have a quarter pounder, have the large fries. I would not recommend it all the time. Where it really troubles me, and I don't know why I focus in on this so much, is I hate what's happened to breakfast. My daughter was graduating, he said proudly, from Columbia University as an undergrad, where she then went on to get her MFA, he said proudly, which is why I need to sell a lot of books, because they don't give away a lot of free time at Columbia. Anyway, on the day of graduation, I was deputized by the family, as in ordered by my wife, to go across the street and get some breakfast sandwiches. Now, in New York City, the breakfast sandwich is a thing of beauty. In California, I know you guys, at least in Northern California, love your breakfast burritos. Every part of the country has its breakfast food, but in New York, a bacon, egg, and cheese on a roll, not a bagel. Damn it, you don't put bacon, egg, and cheese. A lot of people do, but that's a misuse of a bagel. Anyway, the bagel, egg, and cheese is a thing of beauty. So I crossed the street from Columbia, and there is this massive line of people, clearly from the graduation, lined up to get their breakfasts. And the place they were lined up at was Starbucks, which at best serves these pseudo microwave balls of plastic that they pass off as something called egg bites. Next door, there was no line. Now, next door was a bodega. You're from New York, you know what a bodega is. It is a convenience store that predates 7-Eleven and such. It's a little privately owned mom and pop, where in most cases, there's some guy in the morning standing behind a grill making fresh breakfast sandwiches, cracking the egg in front of you. He's made 1 million of these. The grill is seasoned. The roll is a great New York Kaiser roll. It's fresh. He makes the bacon crisp. There was no one in that line. That's where I got our breakfast. And as I walked out, I thought to myself, what are these morons doing next door? Why won't, we're so conditioned in some respects to go for brand names. I guess if you buy a Coach bag, you eat at Starbucks.
It amazes me sometimes. I look at the lines and I say, wow, what are you doing? And Starbucks is, I'm not a fan of Starbucks.
Well, I don't like their coffee anyway.
I don't
they
like
deny
coffee.
it, but I happen to believe, and this is going to be in my next book, that they in fact do buy inferior beans and invented this burning process and convinced Americans that that is how coffee should taste, and it's not.
No, it's it makes the hair anywhere stand up. I mean, it's harsh coffee, but
Yeah, it is.
I know, like Dunkin' Donuts coffee is a lot different.
Well, I liked Dunkin'. I still like Dunkin' Donuts coffee, but I was a journalist for many years, like 40 or 50. And at several points in my career, I was an investigative reporter, which meant I talked to cops a lot. In the old days, the only place open 24 hours where you could meet a cop was Dunkin' Donuts. So I'm a fan of Dunkin' Donuts. I'm a fan of everyday coffee. I'm a fan of what would be called gourmet coffee if I feel like it, but I drink a lot of iced coffee every day, and it's not the world's best.
But yeah, I'm not a coffee drinker, but I do drink two cups in the morning, and
By the
then
way,
we break.
you know
Yeah.
what Dunkin' Donuts is?
Oh yeah.
Given the no, I'm going to add something. I don't know if you know,
Oh.
unless you read my book. Given the homogenization of cuisines in this country, Dunkin' Donuts is the largest single seller of bagels in the United States.
Oh,
Now, it's a
really?
lousy bagel. It bears very little resemblance to a good New York bagel,
New
but
York bagel.
they
Hmm.
are the number one seller of bagels in America.
Well, it's probably a little better than what some of these other places offer you. So
Look, there's
donuts are
been
good.
there's a growing artisanal bagel
Hmm.
movement that I'm glad to see. You're getting bagels more like you get them in New York, handmade. Buffy, you gotta cut it out. Handmade, boiled before baking. What changed all of that, but what introduced the bagel to the rest of the country was the invention of the automatic bagel making machine, which was then leased by three brothers. You'll know the last name, the Linder brothers in New Haven, who, using that machine and the overall mechanical process, ended up producing a softer, sweeter bagel that they then mated with another new technology, freezing, to start sending bagels to parts of the country that had never seen one. And
Never seen
that's
one.
what started what Marvin Lender, I spoke to him on the phone. He's a really terrific guy. He's in his 80s, the last remaining brother. Marvin called it the bagalization of America. And he said, look, these aren't New York bagels. A,
No, they're not.
we
Mhm.
couldn't sell New York bagels in the middle of the country. And B, anytime you automate or you
Oh,
go to large scale production, you're going to change the product. Um,
why do you think I mean, there's nothing like a Brooklyn bagel.
yeah, but not everyone's going to agree with you. And
No.
remember, there are large parts of the country where the standard was a much softer bread item, be
Mhm.
it a roll or let's get extremely obscene here, Wonder Bread. So there, not everyone's going to like a real good New York bagel. Although personally, I'm a Bialy fan.
Oh, I love Bialys also, but again, from Brooklyn.
Well,
I don't
no,
know
hold
what
on,
makes it
my dear.
taste.
My
I don't know. I
grandfather
love
lived
them from Brooklyn, but if
well,
we're
fine.
here
They
in
can be great in Brooklyn, but my grandfather
uh-huh.
lived on the Lower East Side of New York. He used to take me to
Ah,
Co-Stars, which
hmm,
was one of the oldest Bialy. And for those who don't know, a Bialy is kind of like a bagel, but
like a
it's not
bagel.
boiled and it's only
Yeah,
got a hole on top, not the bottom, and it's got some onions in the middle, and it's wonderful, and I prefer it. But there you go.
it's delicious. It's absolutely delicious. I mean, I look back and I say, wow, I miss my Chinese food. I miss my pizza.
Wait! In California, you can come on. You can get Chinese food in
Yeah, but
California.
it's not like back east.
Yeah, but
I mean,
remember what
it's
and what
okay.
you're talking about
Hmm.
is a unique cuisine of its own that's Chinese American.
Hmm.
Um, very different in many respects than what's actually eaten in China, which spurs the whole authenticity debate. But I believe that Chinese American, distinct from Chinese, is a terrific cuisine. And, how do you do better than General Chow's chicken, which bears almost no resemblance to the way it was originally created in Taiwan?
Well, we have here a lot of Panda Express, I think it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
But
they
it's
call,
interesting because Chinese food came to America through California.
oh, you're kidding me.
No, it was
Oh,
the gold rush, the California gold rush in the mid 1800s. A large
really?
number of Chinese men came to Northern California to search for gold, and with them came a number of Chinese storekeepers and restaurateurs who created places to support the miners' lifestyle. And it was at these Chinese restaurants that some more adventurous non-Chinese miners started trying the food, which taught the restaurateurs what Americans would eat, what they wouldn't eat, which was a lot of stuff, because that cuisine, as are many, makes use of all parts of the animal. Anyway, that's what resulted in chop suey, which some
Oh,
claim was invented here and is a fraud. Others claim was a variation here on a dish in China, which used offal and entrails with the vegetables in place of the pork, chicken, or beef that we became used to here. And it was chop suey that spread across the country as the first Chinese dish,
oh, I didn't know that.
publicized heavily during the visit of a Chinese official to New York City in, I believe, the 1800s, might have been the early 1900s. And chop suey became the thing. There's still, in the book, I profile a restaurant in Butte, Montana, which still serves chop suey the way it did 100 years ago when the place was opened.
Well, like over here in California, lo mein is called chow mein.
Yeah, but
And
no, lo mein on the East Coast is like thin spaghetti, whereas
right.
chow mein originally
Mhm.
was chop suey on hard noodles.
Right. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, yeah, the food here is different. Some of the Mexican restaurants are very, very good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, are very good here in California. However, pizza is
No.
uh
How far are you from San Francisco? You're like 500 miles.
oh, we're far.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're
Tony
like 8 hours.
Gemignani.
Oh,
Tony
well, San
Gemignani
Francisco. Okay.
runs
Mhm.
a number of pizzerias in San Francisco. He's one of the leading figures in the American pizza world. I actually went, it was his pizza school that I attended for a few days for the book. And that's some of the best pizza I've ever had. That's extraordinary pizza.
So maybe when I travel to San Francisco one day,
Oh,
I
you
have
have
to
to. No,
try that pizza.
you want Tony's Pizza Napolitano is his flagship. That's where you want to go.
That he makes
Tell him I said hi.
that David Page said hi. I
Yeah.
will, believe
Okay.
me. Yeah, here, well, I'm in Southern California, so it's they attempt to make good pizza, but for some reason it just isn't. So I don't know if maybe it's a different type of water that they use or
It's
sauce or
there's so much
whatever.
there's
Mhm.
so much chemistry in the making of pizza. That's the thing that shocked me the most when I went to Tony's school. The protein percentage of the wheat, the proof time, the amount of water, it is complicated as hell to do right.
Oh, I bet
And one
it
of the
is.
other problems is certain pizzas need to be made in certain ovens at certain temperatures. And these days, as the general knowledge of pizza across America is broader to the extent that people know the names of different kinds of pizza, you have pizzerias with one kind of oven making a vast variety of pizzas, not all of which can be made in that kind of oven or should be made in that kind of oven.
Yeah, I'm still craving for a good well, back east we used to call it the Sicilian slice.
The Sicilian slice,
Mhm.
the thick square one.
The square, yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
no, I prefer the standard New York fold over slice.
Oh yeah, I love those
Yeah.
also, but yeah, here they look at me when I mention that as if to say,
You
what
know,
is that?
there's actually
Uh-huh.
something that's become
Mhm.
kind of hip in the last few years called Detroit style, which is similar to what you're looking for. A lot of
Yeah.
places are now doing Detroit style.
Mhm. Yeah, well, we're waiting for some new restaurants to open here, and hopefully one will be a good pizzeria. But
Okay.
so let me ask you, why do unhealthy foods still dominate the American diet?
Well, first of all, they taste good.
Oh yeah. Mhm.
Secondly, define unhealthy. Is pork unhealthy? It's a relatively low fat meat that got a bad rap.
Mhm.
So I presume you're talking about high calorie fast foods and that sort of
Yes,
thing.
yeah.
We're
Mhm.
addicted at this point as a culture to fat and salt and sugar. But I believe that physically we have a lot of people hooked on that. It tastes good. It's we're prone to excess in this country. The concept of getting a lot, supersize me.
Yes. Mhm.
And it's easy. It's quick. You can eat it in the car. Secondly, most Americans are not raised with an appreciation for things like vegetables. They're a sorry afterthought as opposed to a potentially integral part of a meal, or even a meal by itself. It just doesn't happen.
No.
So we eat what we eat.
Yeah, I love just, if it was up to me, I would just have vegetables and salad.
Yeah, but you got to be careful with that
Yeah.
because
Oh, I know. The protein and
you have to work on getting protein. You have to eat, beans and other such vegetables that round out your nutritional needs, which is certainly possible. What I don't like is people who declare themselves vegetarian or vegan and then pine for the things that they declared they couldn't have, and then they eat like fake meat. If you want meat, eat meat.
just eat meat.
If you don't, don't.
Then just don't. Yeah, that's how I feel. And it definitely, the taste is not there. And
No.
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 So do you think that mentioning that plant-based food is actually becoming more popular?
It is, and frankly, it's surprising me the degree to which it's becoming popular. I think Burger King just added another item. There, of all the fast food chains, they're the one that's most in on plant-based food. Look, for whatever reason, people want to eat plant-based food. If it does anything to reducing the size of the industrialized beef industry, that's great. It's fine. The question that has not been answered, though, most plant-based products, with a name on the front, Fred's Burgers or whatever they are highly processed. And as
really?
people say they don't want to eat processed food, they want to eat natural food. That's not what you're getting when you buy a fake meat of some sort. And secondly, along those lines, there is no scientific analysis that's been done yet that I know of assessing the carbon impact, the environmental impact of making these foods. We know that cows produce methane. Methane's not good for the environment. So if you choose not to eat a cow and to eat a plant, theoretically, in the broader picture of things, you're helping the planet. But no one knows how much of the processing involved in making plant-based foods, what the impact of that is ecologically. So it's right now it's apples and oranges. The assumption on the part of every consumer is that if it's plant-based, it must be better. Science hasn't proved that yet.
Now, what about the genetically modified foods?
I'm not particularly afraid of that, but that's just me and my view of science. I don't. Now, I think there is a potential downside when you start messing around with the genetics of food. You end up with stuff like Roundup, which isn't a food, but which kills everything in its sight and has some deleterious effects on the food chain. I'm not particularly, if they can modify a gene in a plant in a certain way that will help it, great. The problem in my mind is that much of the modification that has been done has been at the expense of flavor. I mean, you get perfectly round tomatoes now because they've been bred to be perfectly round so they can be shipped. They taste like a foot. Anytime you see perfect produce, I have my doubts. I live in New Jersey. We have New Jersey tomatoes. They are the ugliest, most misshapen things any farmer ever raised. And they're also the best tomatoes I've ever had, including the ones I had in Italy. So,
I know.
Science doesn't necessarily help.
I know. When I go shopping, when I see all like the cauliflower is like this, or the broccoli is all like this, and I say to myself, that must be genetically modified, because there's no way that every single one of those things can look exactly the same way.
But it doesn't have to be genetically modified. It can have been simply bred to have those characteristics. Genetic modification says you're going in and playing with it. Breeding is a different issue.
Mm-hmm. So there's a difference then. So they can actually make things look, all the same when they plant.
Yeah, if you come up with a particular genetic a breed, if you keep planting to accentuate certain characteristics, it's you're playing Darwin, I guess.
So let me ask you about your book.
Please.
So yeah, do you have a copy of it?
I got one right here. Food Americana.
Food Americana. So now there's recipes in there, and from what I understand, you interviewed like the amazing chefs around the world.
I spoke with any number in America. I spoke with Daniel Boulez, who arguably invented the gourmet hamburger in the United States. I spoke with Cecilia Chang, who was the most important figure in the development of Chinese food in America. She was 100 when I spoke with her. She passed away a year later. Wonderful, just incredible woman. Chris Bianco, who may be the leading artisanal pizza maker in America. Alice Waters, who was really the force behind California cuisine and the whole concept of farm to table. I spoke with, for my Bagel and Lox chapter, I spoke to Mel Brooks. Now, he's certainly not a chef, but this man knows his bagels and lox. So yeah, I attempted in every case to get to primary sources with information, like the Lender brothers. I spoke to the sons of the gentleman, Daniel Thompson, who invented the automatic bagel making machine. I mean, as I said, my background includes a fair amount of investigative reporting. So I applied those standards to this book. I mean, there's a lot to debunk in the world of food. A lot of legend that has been passed on as if true. If you follow the legends, pretty much everything worth having was invented at the 1904 World's Fair, which is not the case. And it's kind of hard sometimes to separate the wheat from the chaff, such as who invented the first hamburger. Louis Lunch in New Haven will tell you they did, but there's no proof. There are places that demonstrably were serving them early, including Louis Lunch, around or before the turn of the century. But then again, there are purists who will argue that what you get there isn't a hamburger because they serve it on white toast.
Oh, really? Not on a bun?
Yeah.
Now, what about the Frankfurter, like Nathan's in Coney Island?
Well, that's not in this book. It's going to be in my next one. But Nathan's actually copied. Nathan Handworker was the guy who opened Nathan's. He was working for another restaurateur at Coney Island, a guy who sold hot dogs. I think he sold them for 10 cents each. Nathan's opened up his place and started selling them for 5 cents each. And thus, a legend was born. The hot dog, obviously came initially from European sausage. And there are all sorts of stories about how it became the food of the ballpark, supposedly. Some guy was selling them on a cold day at the Polo Grounds in Brooklyn. You'll never prove that.
No. But I will say Nathan's Franks are really good, though.
They are. They went through a period of time after the Handworker family sold to a corporation. They went through a period of time where the quality of the Frank went down. They're back up to where they ought to be. And they're terrific. I mean, see, that's a perfect example in my mind of a perfectly fine fast food. The Frank is high quality. I don't know where they get their buns, but they're fine. The whole thing, let's see, a hot dog, 135 calories, bun. It's like a 275 calorie indulgence that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, with mustard and sauerkraut.
Oh, it's got to have mustard. Come on.
It has to have mustard. It has to have
and
mustard.
sauerkraut, in my opinion.
Yes,
but you see, also, how you make a hot dog is, I mean, one of the reasons it's not on my first book is you don't make hot dogs, you heat them. But the issue is, how do you heat them? The fact that Nathan's does it on the grill and gets them kind of crispy is really nice. Now, you can take that to the extreme. There's a great place in Clifton, New Jersey, Rutt's Hut, that either perfected or invented what's called the ripper. That's where you drop a hot dog into deep fat and you leave it there until it explodes. Literally, the sides rip open, and then you have a ripper. Now, that's damn good.
Oh, I've never had one of those.
Yeah,
I've had a corn dog, which was a little weird, but
corn dog's a corn dog. Why would you do that to a good hot dog?
I know, but I had to try it though one day, because I said, all right, we just need to try that. But
look,
yeah.
Gray's Papaya sells hot dogs for, like, I don't know, are they still $1.50, $2? That's your basic hot dog. It's great. It's wonderful. A good hot dog. See, people don't realize there are so many different versions of hot dogs, and in the final analysis, less important than the meat combination is how it's spiced. It's that's the key.
Yeah, but again, as you said, it has to have that mustard and sauerkraut.
It does, unless well, yeah, it does. It does.
Yeah, it does.
When I worked when there was an East Bloc, when the Cold War was on, the Berlin Wall was still up, I worked a fair amount in East Berlin. And once you'd get through Checkpoint Charlie and they searched your car for bombs and stowaways, the first thing I would do is go to this little sort of hot dog stand under the elevated train, the S-Bahn. And it was a Weisswurst. It was a white sausage, I think veal. And the way they serve those there is it's not in a bun. It's served next to a crusty roll with some mustard on the plate. So it's you take the Weisswurst and you dip it in the mustard. That's one hand, and the other hand you got the roll. It's a wonderful thing.
Wow, I've never seen that one before, but
it's great.
So let me ask you something. Do you think COVID has changed the way we eat?
It's accelerated a number of negative trends, such as the use of meal services, having stuff delivered so that you, even though you think you're making food from scratch, it's processed. It's increased the degree to which we rely on drive-throughs and deliveries. It's reduced the size of menus at some places, because in bouncing back from COVID, a lot of restaurant employees decided they were sick and tired of the restaurant business and being paid crap, and they haven't come back. So there's a labor shortage. So yeah, it's had an impact.
It has, yeah. Because I've even noticed with some of the restaurants here, they've cut their menus down significantly.
Yeah. Well, there's two reasons for that. One is lack of staff. Two is they're trimming some of the more expensive items in the face of inflation and such.
So getting back to your book, okay.
Please.
Now with I've read that after every chapter you have a recipe.
Yes.
So the recipe shows you what to, tells you what to buy, how to cook
it. What I did is each chapter includes a recipe from one of the featured places or items. Now, some of them are very simple. There's a barbecue joint in Big Bob Gibson's Barbecue in Alabama that invented white sauce, which is basic. Whoa, my God, somehow Siri got started, which is basically mayonnaise, vinegar, and salt and pepper, and maybe lemon juice. I have that recipe in there. I also have some very complicated recipes. For example, for kind of nouveau Chinese food, among other things. I have a recipe in there from an 80-year-old Mexican restaurant in California. They've been making things their way for 8 decades. I featured lox and bagels, so of course I have the appropriate lox and eggs recipe. I have a recipe for chicken wings. We went to the Chicken Wing Festival in Buffalo, New York, so I have a recipe in there for wings and sauce, which my wife and I just adored taste testing. I've got a pizza recipe from Tony Gemignani. There's plenty of stuff you can cook after you read the book. But the idea is the chapter is supposed to make you salivate, and then at the end you can satisfy that need.
What is one of your favorite dishes?
Oh, well, my death row meal is lox, bagel, and cream cheese from Russ and Daughters on the Lower East Side. My second favorite death row meal would be brisket barbecue from Louis Miller's in Taylor, Texas, which is just phenomenal. They do nothing to the meat but salt and pepper. They put it on this smoker that's been there for 60 or 70 years. And using only their knowledge, they move it around to various parts of the heat as needed. And then when they slice it, it's like eating beef flavored butter. It's unbelievable. And no sauce. Central Texas barbecue.
No sauce.
Beef-based Central Texas barbecue. They'll give you sauce on the side if you want it, but it's not intended to be eaten with sauce.
How long does it take them to cook that?
10 hours.
Yeah, right. Because I know even in sauce, it takes quite many hours.
Yeah, no, the brisket. I'm sorry, no, 8 hours. The brisket, they started at 3 a.m. They pull it off at 11. It's 8 hours.
Wow, that's a long time. But then the taste is
it's
phenomenal.
Amazing. It's truly amazing. I mean, I was there years ago. I first put the place on Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. So I've seen it firsthand at 3 a.m. as they stoke the fire. And it's an amazing experience. Truly is.
Wow, it's making me want brisket now.
Yeah, well, there you go. But see, brisket's a great example of how so much great food is born. It was food of the poor, just like Jewish kishka was, just like chicken wings were. Some of our greatest dishes are the dishes that were affordable to those with the least money, who had to figure out how to make them good.
To make it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we used to eat a lot of brisket at home. You know, back in my days, my mom always made brisket.
I make a good brisket, but my secret is from a friend of mine in Oklahoma who used to use this on barbecue, which is that I put it in a pan, onions, potatoes, carrots, salt, pepper, garlic, all of that. But I then fill the pan up to halfway up on the meat. I put in crushed tomatoes, obviously, but the liquid is Dr. Pepper, which actually has a prune flavor to it and a tremendous acidity. The prune flavor works perfectly with the tomatoes, and the acidity helps break down the fibers in the meat. And remember, brisket is one of those low and slow meats because it's a cheap cut. It's not a tenderloin. It's meat you have to work on to make it good.
Oh yeah, that's no doubt. And it's funny because here, I'm in California. I actually a few days ago looked for brisket, and something that used to cost like maybe $18-20 was now like $50.
Yeah, it's become a prized cut. It's my go-to lately has become short ribs.
Yeah, well, that'll hamburgers now.
Yeah, well, okay.
I know. Yeah, it's amazing. The prices of meat and everything has gone sky high.
It's insane. It's truly insane.
So where can my listeners find your amazing book?
Well, any place that sells books, you can go online and find it. The place I would send you to first, because in all candor, they keep the metrics that help keep us high on the list and such, is Amazon.com. You can go to Walmart, you can go to Target, you can go to Barnes and Noble, but I would send you first to Amazon. The title, again,
let's see the book again.
Killing to pay for Columbia, is Food Americana.
How did you get to that? You know, I like that the way it looks. There's coffee
that was my publisher, as was the title.
Really?
Mango Publishing. They know how to do that stuff. And so I just trusted them and said, what do you think?
Go for
And
it.
in fact, to be quite candid, while I've grown into it, I didn't originally like the cover. But now I love it. So, and on the back, you have a lot of people saying nice things about it.
Oh, that's even better. Believe me.
Yeah. George Stephanopoulos, I knew when I was at ABC, and he gave me a nice blurb.
Oh, well, that's nice.
Yeah.
What about
Well,
some
George
of
is a mensch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, a lot
George
of
is a
them
mensch.
love to give testimonials.
Yeah, but for someone like George,
George
whose
stuff, yeah,
journalistic credibility is on the line, it was very,
yeah,
very gratifying
definitely.
to get a blurb.
Yeah, that's nice when they do that for you.
Oh,
Believe
I
me.
forgot, among the people I talked to, Jerry Greenfield of Ben and Jerry's.
Oh,
Yeah, he was
okay.
fascinating.
And what was his contribution?
I wanted to know the history. I have a chapter that's on ice cream. I wanted the history of ice cream through his eyes and his story and how they came to be. And
How did ice cream come to be?
well, ice cream, there's no definitive story of how this particular frozen dessert was invented. Some people say the Mongols, some people say the Chinese. The best history tells us is that the precursor of what we would recognize as ice cream came out of Italy in the 16 or 1700s. I'd have to go back to my own book. Spread across Europe, came from there to the United States. It became quite popular. It was an upper class dish because it was hard to make, and generally people of money had someone make it for them, either hired servants or, unfortunately, in the South, slaves. It was the creation of the mechanical ice cream freezer many years later that allowed ice cream to become widespread in the United States. In fact, during World War II, it was considered to be such an important part of morale that there was a naval barge in Europe in World War II that went around. It was an ice cream factory, basically, and it distributed ice cream to soldiers and sailors.
What do you think is the most favorite flavor?
Oh, vanilla.
Vanilla. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no,
That's
it's
my favorite. Mm-hmm.
you can't get past that. Now, look, there's artisanal ice cream now with all sorts of wonderful flavors. And what makes them artisanal, because they're still going to come through an ice cream freezer, is the care taken in preparing the ingredients. There's and now this is embarrassing. I'll forget the name of the place, but there's a small chain, 6 or 8 locations out of Portland. Why can't I remember? Oh, this is the instant we're done. I'll remember their name. And they are producing the ingredients that go into the ice cream, like their own blueberry jams. If they're going to put pieces of brownie into the ice cream, then they're baking the brownies to a different recipe than a normal brownie because of the way it's going to interact with the ice cream in terms of getting too mushy or too hard. That's what makes ice cream artisanal. And there's a new thing now. There's a whole thing of and it can't really be called ice cream by legal definition in the US, but frozen desserts that are vegan, that are ice cream with no milk, and they're using fats from coconut oil, for example, that sort of thing. And some of those are very good.
Oh, yeah, some of them are very,
no,
very
look,
good.
ice cream is a happy thing. I keep ice cream in the fridge freezer at all times. And at night watching TV, I'll say to my wife, "You want a little ice cream?" So we'll put a scoop in a bowl, and I don't go for crazy flavors. I mean, right now I have vanilla and coffee in the freezer. That coffee might get replaced by butter pecan or mint chocolate chip, but nothing. I'm not personally a fan, while I very much respect their ice cream. I'm not personally a fan of the Ben and Jerry's here's 3,000 mix-ins kind of thing.
Yeah, neither am I. I like the vanilla, butter pecan, and the mint chocolate.
Oh, pistachio. Good pistachio.
Yes.
Is a good thing.
That we need all the time.
Damn straight.
It's our go-to food. Without
And
it, we
there's,
get
and
more.
again, you talk
Uh-huh.
about what's good for you or bad for you.
Mhm.
High quality ice cream, which is
Mhm.
basically milk, cream, and eggs,
Mhm.
um, or not eggs, depends on the recipe. Um, there's nothing about that that's going to hurt you unless you eat the whole
Lot.
gallon,
Mhm.
or pint, which is,
Mhm.
the sale of pints went up dramatically at the beginning of the pandemic.
Yeah, that I know, and it's still up.
Well,
Ice
you
cream is
talk
still
about
up there.
spirituality. There are
I
times
know.
when you need to sit on the couch with a pint of ice cream.
I know. Just to, just to chill a little bit, but
Oh yeah.
I mean, but it's good. And yeah, that, and every now and then some, I mean, I'll have like some chips or a pretzel, or what we don't have here is the pretzels that we used to have back east. You know,
The big ones you spy on the
the
street.
big, yes, the big ones. Yeah, the big
Huh.
pretzels. Yeah, we don't
I'm
have that.
surprised by that.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Yeah, I am too.
haven't looked into where pretzels come from, although I believe, having lived in Germany and having had plenty of pretzels at Oktoberfest, I think they probably came from Germany.
Probably. Yeah, but pretzels are good. I love pretzels. That's probably my favorite out of
Really?
everything. Yeah. Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, salted pretzel.
Okay. Enjoy.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
You're
Well,
welcome.
where can they get your book again? and
Go
and
to
let's
Amazon.com or
and it's
Walmart.com or
okay.
Target.com.
It's
Food
Food
Americana.
Americana. And do you
Okay.
have a website?
I don't. I have an Instagram for the book,
Oh,
Food
okay.
Americana, and I have a Facebook for the book, Food
Oh,
Americana. So look at
okay.
those.
So
Send me
we're
a
gonna
message.
put
I'll
that.
answer.
Yes, I'll put that all on the notes.
Thank
And
you.
wow, thank you for this. This is the first food show that we've ever had, and I appreciate it very much.
Well,
I've learned
I
a
very
lot.
much appreciate the opportunity. So thanks for the invitation and
Well,
the terrific chat.
well, thank you. And thank you to my listeners for listening today. And again, a very big thank you to David Page. And I hope you heard what you needed to hear. So visit me at motivateyourlife.net, and please subscribe to this YouTube channel, the Spiritual Warrior Coach Podcast. We're also on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon. We're everywhere and international. And for maybe those of you interested in learning energy healing, check out my book on Amazon, The Gentle Energy Touch, The Beginner's Guide to Hands-on Healing. So again, thank you very much for listening, and have a beautiful week filled with love and with light. Love, Barbara.